there's a saying we have. First of all, you deny everything, you admit nothing, and then you make counter accusations, right? And so there is this spectrum of efforts that happen when there's an inconvenient conversation to have in a government. The first thing they do is they deny it, and then when they can't deny it anymore, they'll start trying to take away someone's credibility, like they do with Dave Grusch. Like 24 hours of him coming out and this, by the way, is American hero. This guy, I know personally. I worked with him at Space Force. He is exactly who he is. We had the same briefings together. We saw the same UAP data, right? So he comes out and says the truth. And within 24 hours, 2 guys from CIA leak medical data and try to use his PTSD against him. Now, how disgusting is that, right?
Oh,
and totally, by the way, if I were to go ahead in the government and release someone's private data, I'd go to jail. That's HIPAA violation. That is also there's PII information there, personal identifiable information there. There's medical
It's getting doxxed by the government.
That's being doxxed by the government. Shame on you. And you wonder why people are pissed. You wonder why people like me do what I do. Mm-hmm. That's why. And I had it easy. And a lot of people say, oh, it was horrible what you went through. And yeah, you know what? It wasn't fun. But there's a lot of people like Dave Grusch who had to go through a lot worse than I did as far as repercussions. Within 24 hours, they tried to bury his career. And, love him or hate him, irrelevant. He is a patriot. And I worked with him at U.S. Space Force. I wasn't allowed to say where, but at this point, I don't care anymore because people are like, oh, well, he didn't really. Yes, he did. We worked in his SAP-F facility, a SCIF together, and our only job was UAP. And no one knows that. And I'll tell you right here and right now, for the first time, that's exactly what we were working on, and Space Force was paying us to do it. And this was after ATIP. So when people are saying, oh, well, there wasn't anything to see here, that's not true. And in fact, some of the most compelling data that we have right now in the U.S. government was a result of our time at Space Force, not at ATIP, because we had better technology, more capabilities, more persistence. I'm hopeful that story will be told sometime because people like Dave, I hate talking about myself. I do suffer a little bit from imposter syndrome because I know a lot of people had a lot worse than me. So I don't want to be the poster child of, victimization. I don't look at victimization as a virtue. I look at it as a challenge that we all have to overcome as human beings. It's part of the human experience, right? Well, let me just interrupt. He may say what people think are crazy things, but he's not crazy. I'm telling you right now, I worked with the guy. I can't say where. I've been asked not to say where. We both worked in a SCIF together. And he had every access that you needed to have, and he saw the same information I did. So I am telling you straight up, that guy, he knows a lot more even than he was allowed to say. Anybody out there who wants to go ahead and poo-poo Dave and say, well, this is anecdotal. No, it's not. People say, oh, well, he talked to 40-some witnesses. It's all secondhand. No, it's not. That's the only thing he can tell you. Yeah. But I'm telling you, there's a hell of a lot more that if he was allowed to say, people wouldn't say that about him.
I've gotten to know him pretty well, and he's just incredibly smart and hard.
Yeah, and it's a tragedy what they did to him. I'm not surprised they tried to do the same crap to me. They try to dig up anything and everything. Fortunately, I've had a very, very clean background. But it hasn't stopped them from trying.
Lou, there are forces, powerful forces, that don't want this story told.
Oh, yeah. And they'll go to great lengths to keep it a secret. Look what happened to poor Dave. I worked with Dave at Space Force. I don't know if that's public knowledge, but I'll say it. What the hell? He and I were working the UAP topic for Space Force for a very good man, a senior guy, very senior guy, by the way. And this was all in the open. So this was acknowledged at the time. And he did the right thing. A lot of our servicemen and women suffer deeply from PTSD. And until recently, we were always told, it can affect your security clearance, don't seek psychological help. And then something happened. Somebody who I respected quite a bit, and thankfully it was General Clapper, when he became the DNI, he said, we're not going to hold our men and women anymore responsible. If they go and seek mental counseling and they self-referral because of PTSD, the horrible things that they have to endure in combat, they should not be penalized from their security clearance, right? So what happened with Dave Grusch when he did the right thing? He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Some nitnoid reporter gets information from none other than who? 2 people from inside the government to say, Dave had counseling. Well, wait a minute. That's exactly what you want someone to do if they need it. Because the suicide rate for our men and women in uniform is through the roof. And you know what? No one seems to really give a shit. So this is why we had to change the policy. So for David doing the right thing, the very first thing he does within 24 hours, they start seeding dissension and they start misinformation and trying to question his loyalty and his credibility. David Grusch is a patriot. And in my book, he's a damn fine human being and a hero for what he did. And what was his reward from that? What was his reward for that? Immediately, the antibodies came out and they tried to discredit him, just like they tried to do me, just like they try to do anybody else who comes out and steps out of rank. Well, you wonder why more whistleblowers don't come out. Look at the way I was treated.
I'm not poo-pooing him. I'm just asking.
No. Of course, not. I don't mean you. I mean that rhetorically. People in general will say, well, how come we don't have more whistleblowers? Well, look when the whistleblowers come out, how they're treated. Look at poor Dave Grusch. Here's a guy who I served with. We were at Space Force together working the UFO topic, working for the UAP task force. That's what we were doing. That was our job, right? He comes out 24 hours after testifying in Congress. What happens? 2 guys from the CIA apparently leak his information, medical information, and try to use his PTSD against him. You know what? F you. What low-life piece of crap person that would use somebody's combat PTSD against him. That is, you who never done nothing, never popped nothing, never served nobody, you don't deserve it. Get your ass in the corner, because that guy was a hero. He actually did the right thing. I saw him every day. And by the way, everything he said was everything he told Congress was correct. And a lot more he knows that he hasn't said. And so what's his reward for speaking his truth? What happened? Oh, this guy, alcoholic. Oh, this guy, PTSD. That is the reaction by certain elements within a corrupt system. And by the way, that's my real issue. That's what motivates me every single day to come out. It's not just the UAP topic. We've got a very significant issue on our hands right now. And it's been there for a while. It's become a cancer in our government. And that concerns me, because that threatens everything. That threatens everybody. Unless you ask me, I won't go down that road. But that, to me, is a much greater national security issue than UAPs ever were.
What are your thoughts on Dave Grusch?
He's absolutely an American hero. I know him personally. I worked with him. I had the privilege of working with him. He was part of the UAP task force. Stellar individual. And he is everything he says he is. And by the way, he knows a hell of a lot more, but he can't talk about it. People were giving him flack for saying, it's all secondhand, third-hand information. No, he's got some first-hand information, but he's not allowed to talk about it.